Hey, everybody, welcome to another quick episode of Lead Ministry Live. My name is Josh Denhart. I'm super excited today. I have kind of a special treat, right? It's Friday, the weather is nice, and I have my special guest today, Miss Catherine. How are you, young lady?
I'm so good. This is so fun.
It is
Um,
fun. So here we
yeah,
were, right? We just had like this absolutely random conversation going, right? Matter of fact, I actually ditched you like a week ago, right? We were supposed to have a call and I blew it off and it was funny and
it's
here we are.
okay. It totally worked out because my baby wouldn't sleep that day. So I was like, oh, what's happening?
Yeah. And I was just like I was picking up like an insane amount of weeds in my yard. So yeah,
Yeah.
so as we were on this call, very informal, I was like, "Oh my word. Let's just go live and invite people to talk about this conversation, right?" So, Catherine, you have a neat story, and I want to just to capture it and have other people hear about your story. And so we're kind of talking a little bit about the power of youth volunteers, right? And creating a culture where teens serve. And in a sense, that was you. That was your story. Am I right?
It was. I mean, I know I was telling you, I was born in Korea.
Yes.
It's the whole immigrant story. It's very difficult for us as a family. So my mom needed a safe place to just drop us off, and that was the church. So my brother and I was there 4 or 5 times a week all the
Yes.
time and just sitting there hanging out with our youth pastors and our friends. And for me, going through difficult things, and even as a teenager, losing my father, all those things, I just needed a hug from a kid. And when you
Aw.
get that hug from a kid, yeah, like it's so pure. And when they say thank you, you know it's honest.
And it's
Like when they love,
genuine.
it's so genuine. And I always felt like I felt the love of God through them when I
Aw.
served
Okay.
ministry.
So let me go back. So you at 9 years old, you came from Korea to the States
Mhm.
and kind of a difficult start, but the church was actually this really foundational kind of rock for you to have a place to go, connections, friendships, and relationships. But then it wasn't too long until they actually had kind of enlisted you to serve. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, I think they always knew I loved kids, and then they saw that I loved music. So
Okay.
my kids pastor at that time and my pastor, they were like, "Do you want to be a worship like
Kids
leader,
worship leader. Yeah.
kids worship leader?" And they were like, "You can intern. We will pour into you." I think I was at church 15 hours a week in the summer,
And how
and I
old
could.
were you? How old were you at this point?
I think I was 15, might be 15.
That is amazing, right? So
I
they
know.
were giving you lots of in a sense, right? Like authority.
And they gave me the keys. They gave me, they said whatever it cost to get gas over, they paid for that. But it was a passion of mine. And so I put a
Yes.
group of, I think, 6 kids together. We jam band. None of them knew how to do music. I brought my brother who like just started learning guitar at that time. And yeah, we did like 3 VBS songs, and they were the kids that were highlighted
I
during VBS.
love this.
And it's crazy to think like one of the kids now is like a professional basis.
Okay, so listen, your church entrusted you with ministry and you had to figure it out. And that was a not only a pivotal thing in your existence, it actually like you put it together in other like you poured into other people's lives.
Yep. Yeah.
That's
And now
huge.
they live out their purpose. I know. It's crazy.
So
It's
actually,
pretty phenomenal.
when we were talking about this, you kind of started in a sense in children's ministry at age 15.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't even say younger. I think I always worked with kids since I was even 9. I was like hanging out in the nursery with my mom, or I just saw what she was doing. But it was really in my teen years when I volunteered alone. And I know I was telling you I never wanted to be a kids pastor or director. It's just something I love to do. So I recognized recently that that was one thing in my life I never stopped doing. So I always served on
So
Sunday
that's
in kitchen.
been almost that's been the consistent thing throughout your life.
It was, and wherever I was living or serving in. So even in college, when I was studying pre med, like I was part of a medical missionary group, trying to just learn about the field. And it's funny how, we would do the medical missions and then they'd be like, do you want to run the kids program? During service, like we're going to do a service and we
So
need
they
someone
did
to,
medical, and then afterward they had a church thing.
yep. And then they had me run the kids ministry part. So with the missionaries kids, we would do music and it really was the best part of my life. Who knew something I loved would turn into a job? But I remember those years when you go around and around the world and you see how churches are so different. You
Yes.
see,
Okay, how old were you at this point, right? Because
oh,
this is like you're a children's ministry veteran and you're super young. I think this is amazing.
thanks. Um, yeah, I think my first mission trip was, I believe, 16, and that was to Mexico. And I,
So
I
list
still
off
remember.
list off all of the places because as we were talking about this, you've been to lots of countries.
Yes, I mean, God has been so good. And, my family wasn't super wealthy. So God
Right.
always provided a way. I went to Mexico every 3 months.
Oh my word.
I started summers and winter vacations during when I didn't have school in 16. I went to South Africa, I've been to Uganda, I've been to Myanmar, I've been to Italy, France, did I say South Africa? I think I did.
Yes, and also
Um,
North Korea, you said.
Yes, we try not to say it too loud, but yes, I did. I can't believe I got to go to North Korea, and that was the craziest experience
Okay, so
ever.
on those trips,
Oh, and
as a
China, all the provinces in China.
oh my
That was
word, you're blowing my
yeah.
mind. So as a young person, you were
Mhm.
able to see not just a Western version of church, or not even just a Korean Western version of church. You were able to see the great diversity in the body of Christ and its expression all over the world.
Yeah, and to think that like God used me
Yes.
to be like helping them, which I really did. Who knows? But I mean, as a
Oh
teenager,
my word.
experiencing that where you have, it's momentary relationships. And I know it's the shortest terms of missions, but when you meet someone across the country and you talk about loving God,
Yes.
that sameness, that unity, like it propels you for to see the world so much bigger. And then it causes you to have a greater purpose in what you're doing. Um,
I have
but yes,
I have like all of the goosebumps. I got all of the feels right now. I mean, that's so amazing. And so here's the funny thing, right? We are talking about like the power of volunteers and the power of creating a culture of service with teens. And you were that person, right? I mean,
I
it
love that person.
affected your whole future, didn't it?
Yes, it did. And I know I told you earlier, like my greatest asks every
Yeah.
weekend is the youth. Because for me, it's natural in that age range, or even as adults, but especially in that age, for some reason, your brain is so self thinking. You only think about yourself. You can't help it. Like your
Okay,
brain is
so
going,
what you're
yeah,
saying is that teens are super self-centered, which
they
is
can't
so
help it.
true. I mean, good gracious, I live with three teenagers and soon to be a fourth.
We love them, but when your body's changing and it
Yes.
hurts or all those different things, you can't help but to just think about yourself. But I think for me, when I was serving in kids ministry, it was that momentary thing where you realize, okay, the world is not about me, and it
So,
forces you to grow up
ah,
a little bit.
so you as a teen, it helped
Yeah,
you not be so self-centered. It helped you not see that you were the end up overall of all things.
and it helped me to hear God that He told me, look, you're being used as a young person.
Yes.
Um, Even in my greatest pains, when I lost my father, I remember I was crying in my car. We had a giant parking lot at our church, and I was like, I can't serve. I need to do something else, anything else, but I don't want to serve you. Like, to me, I didn't think you were a good God. And literally one of the kids that knew me knocked on the window of my car. I know, I might cry. And I remember she was like, "Oh, Miss Catherine," and she gave me a hug. And I literally felt God's love through that child. I know, like saying, "I love you." Like,
Okay, get
you
your
know,
daughter. Get your daughter. She's adorable. She's so cute.
this is Adeline. Say hi.
Oh, hello, kiddo. And so we were talking earlier, and I was just all about your young little daughter. She's two.
Whoa.
She's two. Is that right?
Are you two? No.
No.
How old are you? 10?
Well, you know,
What's it?
the funny thing is that you and I were talking earlier. We'll get back to the teen thing in a minute, but as children's ministry leaders, you and I were both laughing that we were seeking to build the program that we were building at church to be like, okay, what in the world do I need right now, right? And then we kind of build for everybody at that point.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We were talking about how my daughter is now a preteen. She's my oldest is 9 years old,
Yes.
and for me, her going through the shift. Before she used to love just hanging out with me and serving, but now it's like a little bit difficult. And she's going into that self-centered phases, and caring about what other people think of her, all those things, which is so great and natural. But because I need the help, I was like, we need to up our preteen
Yeah,
ministry.
right? Because all of a sudden, in a sense, what you're hoping for is to create the out of the box experience that you experienced. You want that
Yep.
for your very own kids, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And so, yeah, it's really cool. We're doing a VBS at our church. It's called Breakaway. It's really, really big. And I recently had a meeting with one of the starters of kind of the dance group there. And even she was like, because it's like a big thing now where we have like almost professional looking dancers leading our
Yeah.
kids VBS. But she was just explaining to me, did you know that originally it started off with kids and teenagers? It's still a place for teenagers, but like especially kids dancing and use their gift, yeah, using their gift to serve God.
Yes.
And so it's really cool. Some of the things that COVID has brought us, it caused us even as a church to go back to how we originally started. Like, what is the
Okay.
main purpose?
Totally agree. Almost to the point where we had all of these things happening all over, and they were like all of this stuff, and then it's like, okay, we can't do it all. So then it kind of boiled down to what are the most important things all over again, right?
And one of that is creating a place where teens, youth can grow at the church and feel love like I did and feel safe and
Yes.
discover their purpose. Like, what it's amazing. I wish and I always hope for every person that the church would be a place where they discover their purpose, not
You
outside
betcha.
of that.
Of
Yeah.
course. Okay, scoot
What do
your
you
scoot your beautiful face over that way just a little bit, Miss Catherine. Other way. Right there. There you go. Man, listen, this is a great conversation. And so what you're saying is that during the pandemic, of course, we had to contract what we were doing and we got to got back to the basics, right?
Yeah. And I think for our teens, like we hear, suicide rate is going up. They're losing their focus because everything is defined to them through the screen.
Right.
Um, and that standard that, I mean, truly, naturally, I thought of myself a lot as a teenager. I can't imagine in this age where if you weren't with friends or adults or even kids serving, like how much more are you likely to just be so self-centered?
Big time.
So,
I mean,
yeah,
big time. And so that's the cool stuff that we're talking about, right?
yeah,
Is that
that's
and that's why here we were. You and I were just having a regular old conversation. And then in the middle, I'm like, stop everything. This is too good.
Oh, thank you.
It,
Thank you. But yes,
so you like it was actually kind of a defining moment for you. And you know, you felt the love of God. You felt a sense of deeper worth when other kids would hug you.
Yep,
I
I
mean,
did.
and anybody who doesn't serve in children's ministry, they just don't understand that, like, preschool kids, man, like, you're going to get 6 or 7 great hugs on a bad day, right?
Yep, yep. And
And
it's so genuine.
it is genuine. And how, like, what I'm hearing from you is that helped your sense of self worth at a time when when a teen, when their self worth is actually bouncing off the bottom.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And both of
Yeah,
us know, because we've done this for a long time, you have a seminary degree, you've been studying this, you've been in children's ministry probably longer than a lot of people, and yet you're significantly younger than a lot of those people. But the funny thing is we both know the research that one of the main things that's going to keep a kid from 18 to 29 connected with
yep,
Christ and connected with the church is if they are, number one, given an opportunity to serve at a young age, and number two,
yep,
given responsibility in a ministry at a young age, both of which happened for you in huge ways.
yes,
Like, not
yes.
only were you given kind of the reins of ministry at 15, you were wingdinging all over the world, and they were like, hey, how about we give you the reins to do children's programming? Like, what, like, did you feel, did that overwhelm you? Did that freak you out?
No, and I think that was the thing too. At that time, there wasn't social media and all that stuff where you're compare. I think it's sad that even as children's pastors, we tend to compare each other.
There's some truth
At
to
that
that.
Yeah, at that time there wasn't that. So I didn't have some kind of standard I was trying to prove. All I wanted to do is create the best program I knew how to do. And
Yes.
then the people above me asked, what do you need? Gas money? What do you need? Like Oriental Trading, which was still a thing then.
So in a
How
sense, they were seeking to resource you.
Yeah, and I don't think they knew what they were doing either. They just trusted me at that time. And I think that's huge. I think the hard thing right now as children's ministers is we tend to control how we want the environments to be.
I
And
agree.
I'm one of the people that are like that. Like I want a program to run a certain way. But I think if we allow people to do things and learn from it, you're right. It keeps them longer and it helps them to internalize the learning versus it just being a thing they
Production.
learn from the outside. Yeah.
And
Truly.
yeah, so here's the funny thing. Yeah, my wife just, I'm going to see if I can find a way to put a comment up here. My wife is watching, and she said, this is so good. Take note, friends, of what Catherine is sharing. I can't
Hi,
agree
Sarah.
more. I can't agree more because, oh my word, I'm like, I'm on the verge of getting emotional because what you're saying is so true. What you're saying is so true that we should like be less concerned and be okay with it just happening. Like, what if we were like your former leaders who were like, hey, I don't really know what I'm doing. I trust
Yeah.
you. I'm going to walk alongside you. What do you need to be
Yep.
successful? And you're like, could I have like $40 for Oriental Trading, right? Whatever.
I mean, it was the craziest things. I would be like, can I just have some cookies? Or it wasn't even this, and wow, like we have all these resources like you. Oh yeah, we have
Oh, let's sing, right? LMNOP. Keep going.
you are
Keep going, kiddo. Listen, man, yep.
oh my, oh my. Addie, do you love church? Do you love church? Yeah, you want to go to church every day? Later, okay.
Later. So, but here's the deal, right? We should make space
Me
for
too.
her. We should make space for you as a mom to be able to have your daughter. She is a part of the program. She is a part of, man, we were talking earlier and I was like, oh my word, get that kid over here.
Yeah, I know. I mean, our kids are our greatest inspiration. And I
They
think as
are.
parents, we want to create a place in the church where they're finding their voice and
Yes.
their purpose and testing their talents, right?
Yes.
I think I shared on the conference I was with you, Josh, like how I was talking to a teen and I asked him what he likes to do what he likes to do as a hobby in COVID season.
Yes.
And he was like 3D printing.
That's
And I
kind of
was like,
fun.
cool. You like to do 3D printing? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, that sounds really awesome. Do you want to make a prize for our kids that goes with our theme once a month? And
Okay.
now you're part of our kids team.
Right.
Um,
Okay. Now I have to, I completely agree.
yeah.
So it comes down to discovering what somebody else's passions are and
Yeah.
then lovingly exploiting those for the kingdom.
Yeah. I know we were talking about how I loved music growing up, and that's
Yes.
what the church saw in me. And that's when they asked me if I wanted to be the worship leader.
She's going to be the worship leader next, right?
Are you going to sing? QRS.
She just needs
Okay.
hugs. She needs it. Like if a good old Pastor Josh was there, man, she's so
I know.
cute. But what you're saying is it's giving opportunity, right?
Yes.
It's finding a way to give opportunity. Um, because, I think one of the problems is that when we're so high strung on what the production today looks like, that we're unwilling to have a B to a B, almost B plus. We're always like, no, 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 no. It's got to be A plus. Well, what if the B plus is actually the A plus? I mean, I think the real A plus is getting somebody else involved.
Yeah, it does. It really is. It's huge. And I will say my 9-year-old,
Yes.
um,
Yes, she's like, this little girl's like, don't take me out of the screen. What are you doing?
she's like, what is this? You want to be a superstar? You just realized we went to Facebook Live and you came over,
Was
huh?
she was swimming earlier, right?
She was outside playing with the water.
But at the end
But
of the day, I think it's even important for people to see, okay? I think it's important for other people to see that you're a parent, that we're parents, that we do, like, this is our lives. There's no hiding this. This is to be celebrated, right?
thank you, thank you. Yes, and we still get things done. It's
That's
crazy.
exactly right. So
Jesus.
I'm just super excited. I think I would love to continue not only this conversation, but other conversations. I think you are an absolute gem and a superstar. I really, really, really do.
Oh, that's like so much coming from you because we use your stuff all the time in
Well,
my 10 years of like professional children's ministry.
that's super exciting. I mean, that's very honoring and encouraging. But I honestly think that you've got a lot to offer the children's ministry community. I mean, here's the funny thing: you're so young, but you have this total wealth of tenure and experience, and you got a lot to offer. And I'm just super
Uh,
excited. So for everybody out there, what you should do is you should get your teens involved. I mean, how do you know that you are not going to be setting somebody's path on a path like yours, Catherine? Does that make sense?
yeah.
Now,
Yes, it's pretty amazing.
now
It's a huge thing.
I want to ask, what do you think is the hardest thing with working with teens? I've got a couple, but I want to ask you.
Um, I think because it's the mind shifts change. And
Yes.
it's not just teens, it's adults too. A lot of times when you're serving, you forget that it's serving, right?
Yeah.
So I would say, yes, you're going to get a lot of benefits. You'll get that hug. You'll have those amazing, hopefully, experiences with God. But at the end of the day, I think as people, we have to remember we were created to serve and
Yes.
live out a purpose. It wasn't to take in life,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
It wasn't what we were created to do.
So in other words, it's reminding kids, hey, this is going to be good for you. You're going to get
Yep.
your tank filled, but that's
Yep.
not the only purpose.
Correct. And I think that will propel them for even future service, that
Yes.
it doesn't stay in the moment, but as they grow up, they'll learn, okay, whatever job I do, I'm serving a king. And so they'll see
Wow.
opportunities outside of just that job,
Yes.
right? They'll
Yes.
see people, they'll see relationships. Like, so that's kind of what I pray for our youth in this season.
Well, I would say in closing, as we kind of close this off, um, I think that you have the premier mindset when it comes to serving with youth. I really, really, really do. And I
Oh,
think
thank
that
you.
part of that is being willing to sacrifice a little bit of what next week might look like for a wonderful 10-year long term vision.
Yep.
because
Absolutely. Agree.
they maybe could have found a professional, but they chose you at 15. And because they chose you at 15, you're now a hyper super professional. And we're very honored that you're a part of the community.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thanks for having me. So excited to
Absolutely.
listen.
Yes. Okay. Well, gang, thank you guys so much for jumping on real quick to lead Ministry Live. Man, if you don't know Catherine, she is a champ, and I can't wait to have another conversation with her. Thank you guys so much, and God bless.